morning. We've got a beautiful morning. It's so pretty out. The garden is just looking so nice right now. So I'm gonna show you even more things that are starting to bloom and really take off. But I also wanted to give you an update on the worm compost. So as you know, a couple weeks ago, I did a video about my worm bin and how the garden worms that I'm using this year are doing. And so I went in, actually it would be a couple days ago now, but it was 10 days out from when I shot that video and added the new food to the worm bin, and I actually harvested some compost. And so I saved that compost so you could kind of see where it was at after just 10 days with the garden worms. And basically I don't have a great system for separating out my compost. I don't do anything fancy. I just literally go through it by hand, and I just put on some garden gloves and I take the worms and I just move them into the next bin with the fresh food and everything and the fresh bedding, and it works. So even me, who's not like I'm not a big worm person, I get kind of grossed out by them, but I find that if I have the garden gloves on, it's totally fine. Not too bad. So I just take the worms, put them in the new bin with new food, new bedding, and then I take out the old compost. And let me show you how that compost is looking. It did pretty well. In just 10 days, they really ate most of they ate all the green leaves that I had and most of the banana peels and everything. So this is the worm compost after 10 days. And you know, as you can see, there's still some bits, like there were some pieces of bark and mulch that I had swept up when I was sweeping the garden and put in there, and that's still in the compost. And there even were like one or two little, you know, peels, a few peels of the bananas that weren't completely broken down, but for the most part, pretty well broken down. And certainly all of the green leaves, all the little clippings and, you know, cuttings from the garden that I had taken and thrown in there, all completely, you know, broken down, decomposed, or eaten by the worms, I guess. And there's lots of good worm castings in there too, I am sure. One of the biggest keys is really chopping up anything that's pretty fibrous before you put it into the worm bin. One thing that is important, in like a 10-day period, the worms are not going to break down any big fibrous stems, any kind of twigs or anything like that. Like, that's just not enough time for them. So that's something to think about, really making sure if you're going to go and then put if you're going to go and then put that compost right onto the garden, you know, just chop everything up before you put it into the worm bin. But now I've got just a whole nother, you know, round going, and more. I just put my, you know, coffee grounds and my bananas and everything. The worms seem really happy. They all looked great when I was transferring them. It's going really well, and just a super nice, you know, I don't know, way to reuse. I'm gonna really try working on making this garden more of a self-sustaining kind of system, and how I can use the compost from the worm bin to, to even like make my own potting soil. I really want to get into doing that, just so I can kind of, recycle everything and not be, you know, wasting as much soil or spending as much money on soil and all of that. So I'm in process with that, but I feel very encouraged because I really feel like the worm bin is working, and even with the garden worms, it is working really well, and that compost is great. I'm gonna, you know, store that and have it ready to go and ready to put on the next plants when I need them. So that's a really good thing. Right now I'm just storing the compost. I actually am gonna kind of try to create a little bit of a reserve so that I have some, and then play around with some mixes for possibly making my own potting mix. I want to kind of see what I can do about that. So that's the plan for that's the plan for the compost. I'm pretty excited. And as I said, I've been putting all of my cuttings from the garden, my trimmings. The only thing I haven't really been putting in there are any weed seed heads or anything that, you know, is gonna have like weed seeds, just trying to avoid that. I did end up having like a lot of volunteer tomatoes in some of my compost earlier this year, because I had just, you know, put some old tomatoes from the garden. So some things like that I'm playing around with, but so far I feel like, we're getting started in a really good direction when it comes to the compost, and that's pretty exciting. I also just wanted to give you a couple updates on some of these flowers. I filmed a garden tour like literally just 2 days ago, but already more things are blooming. And so I figured I have to show you. And of course, number one is our gorgeous foxglove, which is my favorite plant in the garden right now. It's hard to pick favorites, but I wanted this foxglove so bad, and I started growing it since last July. So I feel very, I feel very excited and very attached to this flower. Let's just take a closer look. Look how beautiful it is. It's just stunning. It's so gorgeous. I absolutely love it. Foxglove is so pretty, and this has inspired me. I think I want to do some more foxgloves. Encouraging to learn that you can start biennials, you know, like I did with the foxglove. I started it in July, overwintered it, and then now it's blooming this year. So I may do a few more next year, and I may also do some hollyhocks. I've been wanting hollyhocks, but it's so hard for me in this teeny tiny space to invest in biennials, because as you can see, there's just so little room, and you kind of want everything to, you know, you just want to maximize your space and have as many blooms as possible. At least I do. I tend to go for a lot of annuals, although I have been slowly adding more perennials, but you know, just that big impact, instant impact, since there's only so much room that we have, you know, you just want to be able to utilize all of it and enjoy blooms and flowers and all of it. But I'm kind of encouraged with that, so I may go ahead. I think I have some of the Black Watch hollyhocks that are those really deep, like black colored hollyhocks, and then I may get another kind of peachy apricot-y colored one, I think, and add that, and it would be, yeah, it'd be fun. So I'm stay tuned. In July I may be starting some more of these biennials, because they're, yeah, they're just so beautiful. I absolutely love that foxglove. I couldn't be happier with how it turned out. The ranunculus that I started from seed, the matcha mix ranunculus. Look how beautiful. We've got a yellow one coming, this beautiful red, which doesn't really go with the color scheme of my garden, but I don't even care. It's a little small. It's definitely a smaller bloom, but probably just because I put it in this really like low container. It doesn't have a huge space for its root system, but it is blooming. So, I mean, that's really cool. Super fun. It's amazing what you can grow from seed. Like, these are some thyme. I started these in January. You do have to get a head start on some of these. These guys were started in January. These were started in January, but they're looking great now. Everything is just looking so beautiful. I mean, the containers. Oh my gosh, I love it. So my pitcher plant is doing okay. I actually saw that they have pitcher plant seeds from Baker Creek. So I think I am going to order some and take you along and see if we can start some more pitcher plants from seed, because I think that would be just kind of a fun process. Probably a little tricky, but could be really interesting and fun. Yeah, so just a beautiful day in the garden, as you can probably hear. I've got the girls out here with me, but we're just enjoying it. We've got things coming up, all of the little zinnias. So much fun, everything taking off. It's such a great time. Hey there, so it's actually a little bit later in the day. I filmed the compost update earlier, and I just filmed a little update harvesting these Ratstail radishes, and I thought I would just put both of the both of these clips together. I am curious if you like longer or shorter form videos. Like, give me an estimation in the comments below. Would you rather have like a 10-minute video, something more around 15-20 minutes? I'm just kind of curious. But anyways, I had a lot of fun harvesting these Ratstail radishes. So welcome to the garden. I've got my little colander here, and I am going to do a little bit of a harvest today. I just saw some hummingbirds on the salvia back there in that container, and I tried to get a video, but she was too fast for me. But it's been super fun. I've seen so many hummingbirds out here lately, and that just makes me so happy. Even some butterflies much earlier than normal this year. It's so encouraging when you start a garden and then you start to see year after year, you just get more birds, more butterflies, more pollinators. I've been really surprised at how much it's increased. But pollinators aside, I'm going to harvest these rat-tailed radishes. So I want to take you along. If you've been following my journey, you know that Radishes have been tricky for me in the past. I've struggled with the traditional radishes, the like root that you harvest. I don't know if it's our heat. We tend to get hot really quickly in the spring, and then we also tend to stay warm pretty late. So we stay warm like well through October. And then, yeah, by the time I plant them in the fall garden, I don't know. They just haven't done super well. I haven't given up on traditional radishes, but I grew these Ratstail radishes. You can see the white flowers in the background there. I grew those this year for the first time. They've grown beautifully. I absolutely love the look of them. I think they're really gorgeous. And today we're gonna harvest some of the seed pods, which is what you eat with them. So let's go take a look. Okay, so as you can see, they're really beautiful. I've always liked the flowers on like radishes and arugula. They have these sweet little white flowers, and it really has the cottage garden kind of look, right? I mean, that is just traditional cottage garden. Very wild and whimsical, and of course paired with, you know, something like a foxglove. These are the Excelsior Foxgloves. Okay, I keep showing them in every video whenever I have something like this. I love it right now. But what we're here for are these seed pods. So these are they're called Ratstail radishes. I guess probably because these seed pods look a bit like a rat's tail. I mean, that's not the best name, but anyways, I'm not really sure exactly what size you're supposed to harvest these at. But I figured I would just harvest a bunch of them, and then we can kind of taste test and see if, you know, we should go for bigger or smaller. I just noticed a bunch of them are, you know, getting ripe here, and I'm gonna make a salad tonight, so we'll put some radish tails in the salad. All right, so I harvested a few. I'm not really sure how many of these I actually want to put in our salad, because I feel like with stuff like this, you can't eat like tons and tons of it. We're having kind of like some taco meat and chips and, you know, that sort of vibe in the salad. So I figured some spicy little radish rat's tails would be, I can't say that, it's the worst name, would be good. So let's taste. I'm gonna do a taste test, try one of the bigger ones first. Let's see how this tastes. You never know. Some things you should harvest small, some things you should harvest when they get bigger. Like my yellow peas were much better larger. So let's see. This tastes like if you had a pea, like a fresh pea that was actually broccoli, and then had a little kick aftertaste. That's what that tastes like. Kind of brassica-esque. Let's try one of the really young ones. A bit spicier. Whoa. The younger ones were much spicier. I wasn't really expecting that. I would have thought that it would be kind of the other way around, where the bigger ones would be spicier, but the bigger ones are a bit milder. The smaller ones are spicier. That's pretty cool. This is just like one of those fun random things that it's fun to grow in the garden, because you'd never buy this at the grocery store. I've never seen this at the grocery store. I would imagine if you were to buy it at the grocery store, it would be sort of like astronomically expensive, because I don't think they could, you know, afford to sell those in mass production. But they're pretty good. I think they'll add something fun to the salad, just something kind of fresh and, yeah, a little bit of spice. I think that'll be really delicious. I'm also thinking that I might let a few of them just keep going and dry out, and see if we can save the seeds from them, since they're already in that process of putting on a seed head. It'd be cool to have a few that we just let fully turn into the seed and then try to save. I don't usually do a lot of seed saving, I have to say. Typically, I don't know. I've tried a couple times with like some dahlias that went to seed and a few other things, and I didn't have very good germination, and I just sort of, you know, I don't know. Not that it's that much of a hassle to save your own seeds. It really isn't. But there's something, one, I just like shopping and trying new things. So there's something to that. And then there's just something with the convenience of a seed pack and whatever. But with these, I might. since they're already fully in the seed pod stage, I might go ahead and do that. I've got a couple of my lettuce plants in this other bed that I was thinking I might also see, you know, they're just basically gonna bolt now because it's getting too warm. They never really got to a point where they matured enough to eat them. So I'm thinking I might just let them bolt and then try to see if I can't save the seeds just as an experiment from saving lettuce seeds, because I've never done that either. But you get such big packs of lettuce seeds. I'm wondering if it's one that's easier to save. You never know. And I think I'm going to give the official verdict that the Ratstail radishes are worth it as a novelty and just as something kind of fun to try and something you wouldn't normally grow in the garden. So anyways, thank you so much for hanging out in the garden for all these updates, and I will talk to you again soon.